Appropriations Committee meeting for Wednesday, June 28th at 5 o'clock p.m. in the Mayor's Conference Room on the third floor to discuss the downtown recreation area.
I have a question for the mayor on that. What is going to appropriations regarding the downtown recreational area / $40 million potential park?
So the discussion at the appropriations will be an update on their previous items, which were specifically requesting a plan for the cost financing payment, as well as then the ownership transfer of the property. So just being able to provide an update on those two items and an update on the project as a whole.
Should that be a committee of a whole instead, since you're not actually talking about dollars and giving an update regarding a project?
Well, I potentially, based off of the feedback from the committee, there may be an appropriations request at that meeting.
If that's the case, I'd request that a full business proposal be put together and circulated prior to that meeting so that we have the information in hand, so full consideration can be given and proper questions can be asked and potentially answered at that meeting.
Jeff, what are you planning on proposing for the project, since the mayor says it sounds like you're going to propose something?
I'm not. That's for the administration to bring forward to tell us what their proposal is. I don't give the proposal to the administration. It goes the other direction.
At this point, I kind of was hoping that that appropriations committee meeting, which, you know, if you want to do it as a committee of a whole, that's fine, would be able to kind of refine some of those items. I don't expect the city of Findlay's contribution to be more than $10 million, and those funds would be set aside over a number of years. I reached out to Councilman Webster earlier today, simply requesting that we would have an appropriations committee meeting so that we can continue to discuss this project and how we would potentially move forward with appropriating for the design costs.
Mr. Staschiak.
I guess in addition to that, then, based on it's clear that there's at least a desire to discuss doing an appropriation. I learned today in, I think it was a meeting, a Park and Rec meeting, I'm not sure, they did not have a quorum, that there was no consideration and no presentation of the environmental information to the Park and Rec Board prior to their recommendation. And I would guess that all, if not the majority, all of those Park and Rec members would probably want to have some consideration of the environmental aspects of that prior to saying, hey, we're going to turn this into a park and let children, people, and families play on it or potentially incur additional liability for the city. So I think these two issues, from a fiscal point of view, are tied and not separable at this point in time based on the information that's been provided to us. I think it'd be irresponsible to pay $1 million as a portion of design prior to making sure you have a clear understanding of every aspect of both components of this long term, both of taking on the property and of investing that kind of money in a park. I'll be open-minded coming to that meeting, but I will look for all of that information to be addressed prior to supporting any aspect of spending that type of money.
Webster.
So, Mayor, will you have an appropriation request at this meeting or not? And I sorry to put you on the spot. This would make a difference. I would, if not, I would ask council's leisure if they would like to turn this into a committee of the whole, since we wouldn't have an appropriation request if we are. However, I would leave it at that and just simply invite all of council to attend and ask questions if they so choose.
I would prefer that we have it as an appropriations committee meeting so that we have that leeway. However, based off of the feedback, that I'm fine with the committee of the whole. I would reiterate, so it seems kind of pointless to tie our hands to not be able to take action when we can achieve the same thing or more in a committee of the whole meeting. None of the environmental concerns with these properties are new things, nor is there any inaction on addressing them. First of all, the property, the Rainick property, which is the only one that has been identified as having any significant environmental concern, first of all, is going to be completely remediated before benching begins. And then it's going to be further remediated as part of the benching. All of the other properties have been, if they had underground storage tanks, have been removed. These were residential properties. These have been playgrounds. These have been green spaces for decades. And I completely understand the concern. I just want to be very clear that the insinuation that I am moving forward in a reckless manner or that I don't care about the health and safety of our citizens and am going to build a park on top of a hazardous waste site is ridiculous. Was that specifically shared with the committee? No, because in my opinion, it's really a non-factor because I know our community is addressing it. So, Jeff, I think to stymie any concerns from some of our other elected officials, I'm perfectly fine with moving forward with the committee of the whole meeting. What you can expect from me in that meeting is a summary of different findings, process, plan moving forward, and then I would expect out of all of you what you want to see further to be able to move forward with this project. Because it is becoming, if we want to be able to appropriately coordinate with the engineering firm and the phase 2 benching work, there are certain aspects of this project that we need to nail down.
I think it's misleading to tell the city that all we have as a problem is the Rainick and a few other problem areas and that we're going to move forward once those are fixed. The phase 1 reports provided to me by the administration and provided or made available to all of you clearly state, and any historian or person interested in the history of Findlay knows, that almost the entire benching area used to be the river. And it says in the phase 1 report, and I'm not quoting, and I'm not an environmental engineer, but I want to make it clear to this community, that phase 1 report says, we presume that a lot of the dirt that came from the new river location was used to fill part of the old river location. However, the old river location was an oxbow that bent north. A curved line is longer than a straight line, hence it probably needed more dirt. And it says in there, the city was in the habit in the 1930s. And it says this was filled in 34 and 35, according to R.L. Hemminger's book. They were in the habit of dumping municipal waste into holes that they needed to fill. So my suggestion and my thought as we move into this meeting is not that the project not happen, or not to infer that something bad is going to happen, or not that we're trying to do something bad. No. What I would like to see happen right now, based on what I've read, is that this city goes in with its eyes open. We do not accept any property that we do not currently own until after phase 2. We've identified any hotspots that might be there, and we've identified a likely cost of cleaning those areas up so that we can move forward in a positive, known manner. Not that we just move forward to move forward. And also, I'm very concerned. I've spoken with commissioners, I've spoken with different people on this project and where we're going, and it's clear that one of the areas and one of the things that's being said is, like phase 1, we might find something. But in phase 1, we had phase 1 benching. In the phase 2 environmentals were done for the majority of the phase 1 benching project. In the phase 2 benching project, the majority of the phase 2 environmentals have not been completed. So there's likely more unknowns, and the phase 1 reports across the board are clear that there are several areas, hence my letter to you.
I would continue to request that it be an appropriations committee meeting, and perhaps the financial request will end up being that we utilize or divert some of the previously appropriated demolition funds towards additional environmental studies. That could potentially be the outcome. The variety of wrecks that have been identified were primarily tied back to individual spots of contamination. I would reiterate that as part of the benching, I don't remember the specifics, but in most places we're going down 15 feet. Significant amounts of dirt is going to occur, as well as I am continuing to work with the commissioners to get the memorandum of understanding that was executed similarly to phase 1 that specifies that they are responsible in conjunction with the Maumee Watershed Conservancy District to oversee all of the phase 2 benching. I've requested a meeting be on the calendar so that we stop spinning our wheels and we can get together and discuss these topics, which can't happen except for in a public meeting.
I guess grandstanding aside, I would also support it be an appropriations meeting because, as you said, Mayor, we've spun our wheels long enough. This needs to go forward, and we need to stop playing politics with this issue, which you're so good at, by the way, and we need to move on.
So clearly, you have a strong desire for it to go to appropriations, which means there's an agenda to get that to go there. First of all, not against improving that area and putting in a park, one. When I use the word $40 million park, that's something that the community can relate to because they read it in the Courier. Now, it's not a park, it's a downtown recreational area, fine, but we were originally talking 1.3 million as a quarter of the cost to do a study. I would have thought we were going to go back to Park and Rec and maybe hone in, and because there's been a lot of public input, okay, of concern of spending money, but everybody wants to see something done. Number two, the push for appropriations is telling me and telling the public clearly that there is, you have a request that you're not saying, and playing politics would not be wise, in my opinion, and let it go to a committee of a whole. Because if we're spinning our wheels, I haven't been spinning my wheels, Park and Rec hasn't, but we've had our committee meetings canceled for how many months in a row? So was that for political reasons that we weren't discussing it? I don't know, but we have a discussion that needs to take place and what the right dollar amount is.
Two, I don't have a hidden agenda. I want there to be discussion, and given that the most recent committee to discuss appropriating funds and moving the project forward is the Appropriations Committee, I felt like it was most appropriate to go back to provide an update and further discussion with them on what does this look like, how are we coming along. Third of all, on the Parks and Recreation Board, the reason I haven't felt a need to go back to them to provide any update is, one, there hasn't been any changes to the previous plan. That is why I'm going back to appropriations, because I think that they're the body that can best make a recommendation on how to move forward.
Webster.
I think that the insinuation that there is an agenda at play here is disingenuous and counterproductive and disgusting, quite frankly. Everything is open to the public. Anybody can come and listen to it. Anybody can watch it on video. Anybody can read about it.